James Holloway stood motionless in front of the fresh grave, the wind rustling the leaves round him as he knelt, placing a bouquet of white roses beside the cold tombstone. His throat tightened, his fingers trembling as they traced the engraved letters Eleanor Holloway, his wife, his love. Gone. His chest ached with the weight of guilt, regret, and sorrow. "I should have been there," he whispered, his voice barely audible over the breeze. The world around him blurred, but a quiet shuffle behind him snapped him back to reality. Turning slowly, his gaze fell upon a young boy standing a few feet away, small and fragile, gripping a worn-out backpack. His clothes were slightly oversized, his hair messy, and his face familiar to familiar. James' breath caught as the boy's deep brown eyes, Eleanor's eyes, stared back at him, uncertain yet filled with something deeper. "She liked lilies more," the boy murmured, his voice soft, hesitant. James blinked, his mind reeling. "What did you say?" he asked, his voice barely a whisper. The boy glanced at the bouquet James had brought, then back at the grave. "She used to tell me lilies were her favorite," he said, his voice laced with an emotion that made James' stomach drop. Silence hung between them before James finally forced out the question that was clawing at his throat. Who are you?" The boy hesitated, then swallowed hard. "My name is Noah," he said. "Eleanor was my mom." James' world tilted, his heart beat thundering in his ears. "No, that's not possible," he stammered, shaking his head, his pulse roaring. "Eleanor and I, we never had a child." Noah shifted uncomfortably, gripping the straps of his backpack. "She never told you," he muttered. "She never told me about you either. Not until she got sick." A sharp, suffocating weight settled in James' chest as he stared at the boy. His son, the son he never knew existed. The truth crashed down on him like a tidal wave, pulling him into a sea of emotions too vast to comprehend. Regret, anger, pain. How had he been so blind? Why hadn't Eleanor told him? Why had she taken this secret to her grave? His hands clenched into fists as he forced himself to ask, "Where have you been staying?" Noah hesitated before answering, his voice barely above a whisper. "Different places. Foster homes, sometimes nowhere." James inhaled sharply, his jaw tightening. His son, his own blood, had been alone, suffering, while he had been drowning himself in work, thinking he had lost everything when in reality, he still had a part of Eleanor left. His eyes burned with emotion as he stepped closer, his voice firm, unwavering. "You're coming home with me." Noah's eyes widened in disbelief. "What?" he breathed. "You're my son," James said, his voice thick with emotion. "I won't let you go through this alone." A flicker of something crossed Noah's face, hope, fear, hesitation. For so long, he had taught himself not to expect anything, not to believe in promises. But as James knelt before him, his gaze steady, his voice sincere, Noah's will slowly began to crack. The wind whispered through the cemetery as James placed a protective hand on the boy's shoulder, his heart pounding with something unfamiliar yet undeniable purpose. He had lost Eleanor. He wouldn't lose Noah, not now, not ever.